Hey guys, welcome back to Indie Beans. Today we are going to be talking about all about espresso. So we're going to talk about grinding beans, tamping your shot, pulling your shot, all things espresso. So first things first, I want to talk about grind. So basically espresso is ground very finely, and this is something that you'll have to adjust, for your machine. Typically, the grind will determine, how long your shot pulls, and that determines the flavor of your shot. So everything is very connected in this, portion of coffee making. It's also very important that you grind your beans fresh. Do not let your beans sit ground for a week and then make an espresso drink out of that. That is just not going to have a rich flavor. And along with grinding your beans fresh, it also matters how long your beans have been roasted. So all very important points. And next we're going to talk about amounts. So this is, again, something that you'll just have to, figure out what's best for your machine. So it's going to talk about the amount of grounds that you want in your portafilter, as well as the shot volume. So a single shot should be 1 to 1.25 ounces, while a double shot should be 2 to 2.25 ounces. So it's all, relative, and if things are off, you can adjust certain things in order to fix. So, and then your tamp should be about 30 pounds, and your shot pull should be between 20 and 30 seconds. A shorter shot pull will make your espresso taste bitter, whereas a longer shot pull will make your espresso taste burnt, which nobody wants bitter or burnt espresso. We want a nice, flavorful crema with a good, robust shot. Next, I'm going to talk about making drinks today. So there are some tips that we need to keep in mind. So when you're making an ice drink, it's important to not pour your espresso over ice directly. That is going to shock your espresso, and it's going to make it taste nice and bitter and just not good. So I'm just going to be talking about some tips with that, as well as you don't want to let your espresso shot sit for too long because it's just going to taste old and expired. So there's a lot to think about when you're making espresso. All right, so now I'm going to talk you through getting your shot ready and pulling your shot. So if you're not familiar with espresso, this is a portafilter. This is what's gonna hold your grounds and your espresso. This is what's called the basket. So this is going to hold your beans, and you're gonna have different sizes. So there's a single shot and then there's a double shot. Currently, I have the double shot in here because, I want more espresso. And you also are going to have double-walled and single-walled espresso baskets. And that's just going to affect, how your shot is pulled and everything like that. And now this is your tamp. So this is what's going to press down the beans, just like that. And that's where you're going to put that 30 pounds of pressure in there. So now I have my freshly ground beans. I have come up with a grind that is just, it works for me. I don't have a burr grinder, but I would love to get one. So I'm going to do 1 scoop, and then since I'm doing a double, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 scoops. All right, beautiful. So then I like to do a little trick. So I like my grounds to be leveled. So I'll just tap it on the side, make sure that it looks nice and level before I tamp it. So as I'm doing that, and then I'm going to show you my trick for tamping espresso. Well, it's actually a trick that I've been taught, but I've had some good friends help me over the years. All right, so now I'm going to tamp my espresso, and I think it's helpful to take your portafilter and set it on the edge of a counter. That way, you know that you're getting a nice and level, tamp. So here I go. I like to take my 3 fingers like this. I just find it easier to get a nice and, level shot. So I'm going to go in. I like to feel the sides of my portafilter, press down. And then once I know that I'm level, I'll take the palm of my hand and put a nice amount of weight on there. Just a nice amount. So I'm tamping that shot. All right, and there you go, a nice, beautiful, level, tamped espresso shot. So next, we are going to talk about pulling my shot. All right, so now I'm going to take my portafilter and put it into my machine. So I have the Breville Infuser. I think it's a great machine. It's been a great one for me to start with, and there is definitely a lot of things to learn with this machine. It's completely manual, so I had to learn how to get my grind for my espresso, grind it, tamp it, put it in my portafilter, as well as steaming my milk. So I'm gonna make an iced drink, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill this drink in my pitcher. So now I'm gonna hit the double shot and start pulling this shot, as well as timing it when I do that. All right, and I'm starting that as my espresso starts to drip through. All right, now my shot did pull a little short, so there are still some things that I would need to work out with that. As far as, adjusting my grind, I may have to get a more expensive grinder, or just, the amount of espresso that I put in my portafilter. But it's all stuff that you can work out as you learn how to do this. So now that I have my espresso in my pitcher, I'm gonna go ahead and add some oat milk. So this is what I was talking about when I said that it's important that you don't shock your espresso. So I'm gonna add something to my espresso before I pour it over ice. So here's my cup of ice. You could add, like a flavoring to this if you'd like. And I just, like to swirl it and mix it in there a little better. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pour it over ice. I find it helpful to do a high pour just to get everything mixed in there. And look at that beautiful iced coffee. Love it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial. Just know I'm not perfect in my espresso shot. As you can see, my shot pulled a little short, but it's all relative and figuring out what you like, how you like your espresso to taste, and what works best for your machine. So my machine is a great one. I think it's a great starter machine, and really for a home espresso machine, it's not necessary to move up from that one, in my personal opinion. But it's just a lot of fun, it's like a giant science experiment where you're constantly, changing things and figuring out how that affects your espresso, and you're just seeing what you like best. So cheers, guys. Like and subscribe.